listen, all due respect to everything else that's going on out there, I think the number one, the biggest film that's coming down the pipeline right now in the movie world is Avengers Doomsday. I don't think there's a lot to debate about that. It kind of is. And so a lot of attention is paid on that, not just because it's going to be a big Avengers movie, because there's a lot riding on it. Yeah. I mean, Marvel has never been there's never been an Avengers movie that came out when Marvel itself was in such a precarious position. You know, when the first Avengers came out, it was all positive, man. Everybody was all excited about it. When Ultron came out, Marvel was firing on all cylinders. When Infinity War came out, Marvel was firing on all cylinders. When Endgame came out, everybody loved Marvel. Today, it's a little bit different. So there's a lot riding on this thing coming down the pipe. And we just heard from one of the stars of the film. And I kind of like, now, of course, this isn't just one of those actor in movie says their movie is really good. I kind of like specifically what he's saying here, because good Canadian kid, Simu Liu, of course, who stars in one of my favorite Marvel films, Shang-Chi, going to be in Avengers Doomsday. And he's getting kind of specific about it. He says, Doomsday is really like a love letter to the superhero genre as a whole. And I love the way he says that. And let's go over and take a look at what he actually said. This comes to us from Deadline. In a new interview, Liu opened up about returning or reuniting with all the actors from the Marvel Cinematic Universe and described what fans can expect from the film directed by Joe and Anthony Russo. It feels in a lot of ways like a love letter to the entire genre of superhero movies. And I think there's something really fun about that, he said. Liu added that the film is for all the misfits and the weirdos and the underdogs that grew up reading comic books and feeling like there was hope for them somehow. It didn't just matter if they didn't fit in. I think there's always a special place in my heart for that entire genre. And I'm going to admit a very personal reason why that jumped out to me. Especially that last part. We'll get back to the part when he says this is like a love letter to superhero movies. But his last part there when he says, this is for all the people who grew up feeling like misfits and weirdos and underdogs that grew up reading comic books and feeling like there was hope for them somehow. I remember reading that and I paused. Because that is almost, not quite, word for word something that John Schnepp said to me once. When Marvel was really starting to fire on all cylinders.
Great, now you're gonna make me
and
cry.
Stuff like that. Yeah, but I remember in one conversation with Schnepp, and Schnepp saying, he goes, I'm paraphrasing here, but he's saying, like, basically, I wish I could show younger me what we have today. Because back then, it was just us weirdos. We were just the weirdos that read comic books. And now seeing what we're getting and seeing what we have, we're getting things now. And I know you've said this same thing, Rob, that we're seeing things today that younger versions of ourselves never would have dreamed we'd see on the big screen.
Even John, I was sat in that theater. I saw it at the ArcLight Sherman Oaks, Avengers. And about halfway through the movie, I was thinking to myself, I can't believe I'm actually seeing this.
Yeah.
I mean, because I used to say, there's never going to be an Avengers movie. You have to introduce those characters first. And I was sitting next to Nikki Griffin, and I was sitting next to Derek Hughes, the writer. And I'm just like, I was stunned. And it was exactly, and I'm sure I thought of Schnepp, and I saw Infinity War. He never got to see Endgame.
Yeah.
I saw Infinity War sitting next to him at the El Cap.
Yeah.
And when we heard, even though it wasn't Hugo Weaving's voice,
right,
when the Red Skull showed up,
dude, I was in that screening. My mouth.
I mean, he and I were like
lap.
jumping at him. It's like, going, no way. I mean, it was like I've never. And I was sitting right next to him, and we couldn't we're like touching each other. It was weird. I went, oh my God. I mean, it was just. It was, yeah, man.
I mean, there are things that we've seen now that on the AMC desk we swore would not happen.
Oh yeah, I mean it's just been crazy, and it just I get very reminiscent of that when I'm reading Simu Liu's comments here, and I really love hearing him say, not just saying this fans are going to love this, blah, blah, this common thing. He said, you know what? He said, it just feels like this movie is just a love letter to the whole genre, and for all of us who kind of grew up feeling like we were the outsider and the misfits because we read the comic books, and this feels like it's meant for us. And again, it's for very personal reasons, but that really resonated with me. Anyway, Rob, you heard Simu Liu's comments here. What do you take away from it?
Well, I hope so. You know, I've chosen to believe, John. I've made a choice in my life that I'm going to be very excited for this, and I want it to be the greatest Avengers movie of all. I think it has the potential to be amazing. But I like hearing him say that. I mean, we've heard people say things like that before, you know, and I think in this case, though, there's been 4 Avengers movies that have really done it for me.
Yeah.
And I choose to believe that this 5th movie is going to be the best Avengers
And
movie
again,
of
there
all.
have been 4 movies specifically done by the Russo brothers with Kevin Feige.
I know.
And you know, and every time they've done one, 2 things have been true. Whether it was Civil War, Winter Soldier, Infinity War, Endgame. All of them took a lot of liberties with source material in the comics.
Sure.
And yet all of them completely honored the spirit of the comics. You know what I mean? And I am looking for that exact same thing here. I am not looking, I've read some people saying, I want to make sure they follow the story exactly as it was in the comics. It's like, that's never what they've done.
No, and it can't now.
They can't. And if you take all the greatest comic book movies, none of them do that. It's about taking, that story, drawing from it what you can, but also making it your own while honoring the spirit of what the story was. And like, you look at films like, again, I often go back to X-Men Days of Future Past, which I legitimately think is one of the best comic books.
That's one of my favorites.
And that's a great example of that.
Love it.
It totally is not following the story of the comic, but it's totally the spirit of it. And it sounds like what Simu Liu is saying is that's what they're doing here.
I totally agree. And I think what you said is really important. I've looked at the MCU as its own continuity. Like when the Marvel comic universe introduced the Ultimates, and they made, for instance, the Black Nick Fury that looked like Sam Jackson. I didn't sit there and go, well, this isn't exactly. They firmly set out to start their own continuity and revisit things that you knew. I mean, I think the MCU started out, they had to make their own continuity because they didn't have decades of comic lore to fall back on. So they had to start from the beginning. And they gave us, sure, Captain America's origins immutable. He got frozen in the ice and he got thawed out. We got that. I loved the way Vision was created in the MCU, during Age of Ultron. I loved it. It wasn't exactly the Vision from the comics, but it certainly had the spirit of that character. And we've seen that all the way through. They couldn't call Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver mutants when they made Age of Ultron, but they've moved into that. The spirit of those characters that was there.
Exactly your point. Ultron is not anywhere how it was created in a comic.
No, and I love Ultron as a villain, and I love James Spader playing Ultron.
Can't wait to see him again.
There's
in
no
Vision Quest.
strings on me.
All right, guys. Question is for you. What do you make of all this? Simu Liu's comments, again, look, you're forgiven if you think this just falls under actor in movies, says their movie's really good. Right. You're forgiven for that. But just something about the words he chose to use struck a real chord for me, and it's kind of got me excited. Anyway, whatever you guys think about it, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. Hey guys, thanks so much for watching this video. Make sure you like the video, leave a comment, and subscribe to our channel. And don't forget, we have a daily podcast called the John Campea Show podcast, available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or your favorite podcasting app of choice. Go and subscribe to it today so it'll be there when you need it.